Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, this is another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price. I'm co-founder of Billy Footwear, and one of the things that's amazing about Open Book is if you've not listened in on previous episodes, but what Open Book is, it is an open book. What we're trying to do is we're trying to tell our stories, and sometimes it's the Billy Footwear story, but other times it's the story of those amazing organizations out there that we collaborate with. So one amazing organization that we do collaborate with is an entity called the Common Ground Society. And joining us today, we have Larkin. She's the co-founder and the COO of Common Ground Society. So Larkin, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and chat.
Well, one thing that I love too is I've got a little bit of understanding of what you're going to talk about because you and I had the opportunity to talk almost 3 years ago to the day.
So
And
wild.
that's right when Common Ground Society was really starting to pick up.
Yeah.
And I know there was a story leading up to that moment, but I'm
Yeah.
also super jazzed to understand what's happening over the last 3 years. So if you can kind of give us some, maybe talk about what is the Common Ground Society and how it came to
Sure.
be.
Yeah. So we are a local Sonoma County nonprofit. So we're Northern California based, and we serve our local disability community in two ways. Number one, we provide support for families who have kids with any sort of diagnosis, any sort of unique need. We are not diagnosis specific. So we actually have 117 different diagnoses in our group. Anything from ADHD, autism, Down syndrome to rare one-of-a-kind diagnoses. And we do about 10 monthly meetups for families. We do family meetups, Latinx family meetups, under 5 meetups for families with younger kids, as well as targeted ones like moms, dads, siblings. We have a parent support group. And so that kind of all has conspired out of what necessity and people saying, I wish we had. And I'm like, oh, well, we could do that, right? We also support our local families by providing hospital bags for families who are going in for surgeries or long hospital stays or newly diagnosed families. The second aspect of what we do is our presentations in our community. So to date, we've hit, I haven't updated it since December, and we've hit several thousand more kids, but over probably close to 65,000 students in Napa, Sonoma, Marin. We have been flown down and are going back down to San Diego. We're going up to Bend, Oregon to do some presentations. And, it's like we've been shot out of a cannon. There's just such a need for understanding of acceptance and inclusion and a space to talk about it and help people understand. It's so interesting, though, because really our message is to just say hi and, ask questions to find similarities and really following the lead of people when we're not quite sure how to interact with them. So, yeah, I mean,
So the part I'm remembering, it just, because that's the part that really touched my heart, just being able to go out and do these presentations, being engaged in the schools, in your kids' schools.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the origin,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, the origin of Common Ground Society, where it was just yourself and another mom doing a presentation. And then it was one of those, oh my goodness, we need this more. And then it turned into something bigger.
Yeah, we never intended on becoming a nonprofit. I'm actually a teacher and a mom, and that's it. I know I somehow run a nonprofit now, but I never intended to. We just did a simple presentation. Jessica Hunter, who was on the last episode, last time we got to do this with you, she's the other co-founder, and her and I did a presentation for our kids' preschool on World Down Syndrome Day, which is coming up March 21st. And our local paper came and did a story. All of my teacher friends saw it. And you know how teachers love to exploit people. I'm just kidding. But my teacher friends asked us to come into their classrooms. And it was too many classrooms. So we started whole school assemblies, and Now we focus on more than just Down syndrome, but we have our first presentation is more on visible disabilities. Our second presentation is more on invisible disabilities. And then our third presentation is actually on the book I wrote. I wrote a children's book in this time between called Want to Play. And so we talk about the tagline, just say hi and follow their lead, which is looped throughout the book. And then middle school, high school teachers. I mean, it's been a wild ride.
Wow. So book, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, all that's awesome. But I mean, but writing a book, I mean, be able to put that down into paper and Word format. So when did you start the book? How long ago was that?
The book sort of just came to me. I'm like, do I have a copy in here? I don't. The book sort of came to me. I love writing. I've always, funny story, I've always had a hard time writing in school. It was like not something I was good at, but back in my day, we had paper pencil. It wasn't computers. Now that I have the accommodation of a computer and I can move sentences rather than erasing and rewriting the whole thing, I love writing. And so it's a story of my daughter going to the park and going, hoping to play with friends. And she goes with her brother and me. And we go swing, and she meets different characters. One who has a craniofacial anomaly, one who uses an AAC device, one who is non-speaking, and another who is blind and uses a cane to help him navigate the world. And yeah, it just out of our Be the One message, it just sort of like flowed out of me. And I never thought I was going to actually get it published. And then my photographer friend said she would come out and take pictures, which is what we did. So it's all local Sonoma County kids with their pictures that are digitized to sort of look cartoonish. And it's just such a special thing. I'm so glad that I was able to accomplish that.
Oh, wow. Well, I didn't know you had a book, but now that I do know you have a book, I am definitely going to find that book and read
Yay.
that book, especially my kids. I mean, so my
Yeah.
kid, I have a son, he's 5. My daughter is she's almost 2. My son he's not quite in preschool yet. Or I guess he's in preschool. He'll be going to kindergarten next year. And I mean, he sees me being someone that uses a wheelchair.
Yeah.
He's already familiar with that space. But I that message that you're talking about, getting out there in the schools and showing that, like, yes, there are others that may have a disability, but there's still, right, which I love about your name, there's common ground, right, in all conversations, right, common ground in all interactions. Right. And I was just kind of curious if, when you're doing those presentations in schools, what's some of the language that you can use and to help communicate that to these young minds?
Yeah, great question. So there's actually a wheelchair user in the book as well. She's the one who uses the AAC device. And what the tagline throughout the book is, I remember my mom saying, when I'm curious, just say hi and follow their lead. And so getting that into kids' brains, that it's okay to be curious. It's okay to feel a little scared and not quite sure how to interact. We are all scared. And so allowing for that, I think the problem that we've run into, and I bet, you as well, growing up around the same time as me, we were always taught, don't stare, but we were never taught anything after that. And so what we say is, don't stare, show you care, right? And these are the ways to do that. Don't just smile and say hi. What if the person can't or doesn't talk back to you? That's okay. There's usually someone there who can help. And even if not, we're certain they appreciate just being seen. We all want to feel like we matter. We encourage them to ask questions to find similarities. We remind them that people don't want to be talking about their disability all the time. If someone brings it up or talks to you about it, great. But it's best to make a connection with a person rather than find out about their medical history and all of that. And then the last thing we say is to stand up. If you see someone who's being left out or mistreated, you can be the one to invite them to join you. Even if no one else is, you can be the one to make someone stay. And so it's empowering kids with what you can do and how easy it is to just smile, and look at someone. And that really can make a difference for a lot of our families.
Oh my gosh. Will it ever? I mean, that message needs to be told everywhere, all the time, like reinforced on the daily,
Yeah.
hourly. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. And
Thank
I
you.
know that, I mean, I know you're in California,
Mhm.
but I know we're gonna have listeners well beyond California. Does Common Ground Society, is there some sort of virtual way to get connected?
Yeah, great question. So we're working on our virtual platform that should be up and running any day now, to get our presentations out into the world. We also, with travel fees and stuff like that, can travel depending on timing. We do get booked up pretty quickly. So virtual is a great option, and that should be available on our website any day now.
Well, that's a great lead in. Let's pull up the website. So on screen, those who are just listening in, on screen, we have the website. It is commongroundsociety.org. And I also know that you have quite the following and stuff like that on social. So let's throw this up here as well. Both Facebook, it's at Common Ground Society, which is also on YouTube at Common Ground Society. And then on Instagram, it's just slightly different. It's still Common Ground Society, but there's a period between the common and ground, and from ground to society. So with all those resources out there, where do you think the first place, where should we point everyone first?
Coming to our website, we have a list of resources that do include the book that I wrote and many different children's books that we've learned about. I always like to include all the different resources. We got Billy on our website because we are affiliate. And I actually did a TEDx talk recently about inclusion and acceptance for teachers, which is also linked to our website. So our website has some great resources. And from there, our Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are all linked to our website.
Absolutely amazing. So I got a question about your TED Talk. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, you get up there, and to be able to get those all those minds that are not only hearing what you say, but it carries a tremendous amount of credibility, and that message is going to get out. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I know this stuff is so ingrained now in your DNA, both as a parent, but also as a teacher, but also as someone running a nonprofit. How did you prepare to be able to make that presentation for that type of audience?
That was wow. It was really nerve-wracking. But luckily, so the way that I did it was I have a bunch of different presentations I've done. They've always been around 40 minutes. So I had to pare it down to my speech is about 8 minutes. And then you have to memorize the speech, which is hard. I have ADHD, so it's very hard for me to focus for that long of a period of time. So the best way I found to do that was to record myself doing the presentation. And then when I was in the car and driving or doing anything, I would just press play on my recording, and I could practice trying to say the presentation along with myself, and not get sidetracked by the way that my other presentations went. Because as I was practicing, I was also doing other presentations. So it was a challenge, but I only almost passed out once, and I almost threw up once, but during the whole presentation, but I memorized the whole thing. I got through it. And then I said, thank you. And I walked off stage, and I just fell into my mentor's arms, crying. Cause it was such an amazing experience. You should get out there. We should see Billy.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list. I got to get out there somewhere. But I would imagine in that moment, because I can kind of visualize it of what it could be like. And I would imagine you're just in your groove and everything is just flowing. And then when it's over, it was one of those, I don't know what I just said. I don't know what just happened. That was amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it was really, truly incredible. And I'm so grateful for that experience.
One thing that you said there that I really picked up on and really loved that you said, and I wasn't prepared for you to say this, but when you said, when you were over, you went and got connected to your mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had more mentors growing up, and having a mentor is just vitally important to be able to kind of build on those shoulders of giants that have walked before you. I mean, I know a mentor of mine that I picked up later on in life. One of the things he said was, if you're going to walk through a minefield, you should walk in the footsteps before you. In other words, if you're going to walk in those footsteps, you're not going to step on a landmine because you know that was a safe place to step.
Right.
When you start kind of going off on your own, that's when it gets risky.
Yep.
So not to say like you have to be always safe, but it's just like, if you like take calculated risks.
Yep.
And it was just a perfect visual. And I would imagine like when it comes to mentorship, being able to do these presentations in schools, you can just see these bright eyeballs looking back at you, including the parents and faculty too.
Yeah.
Just knowing that what you're presenting is going to be making a difference.
Yeah. It's really amazing when we give the presentation, and I'm always open to feedback. I really want to honor our disability community, and I want my son to grow up in a world where people look at him and they say, hey, look, it's James. They don't say like, oh, look, that kid has Down syndrome, right? It's just a human being, just like all of us. And so in our presentations, I think the most beautiful part, and this just happened, we just did a high school presentation, 2 groups of 650 kids. And in those presentations, these young kids were brave enough to raise their hand in front of 649 of their best friends and say, I'm neurodiverse and I really appreciate you talking about this. And the entire audience like clapped for them. And then the next person raised their hand, said something similar. And I said, well, how would you like your community? How can your community like show up for you? How can they create a community of belonging where we all belong? And she said she was feeling nervous. So I said, well, would it be helpful if people just learned your name and said hi? And she said, I'd really love to have some friends. And again, the crowd clapped for her. And then after the assembly, not only was it like a showcase of people clapping, people went up to her and introduced themselves to her and met her. And I think it's just so special when people, the kids that we're preaching to are the ones that are affected and able to take that and make their life better and make their school better and help people understand that regardless of anything, all any of us want is to belong.
Oh my gosh, that is so groundbreaking. So simple, but so groundbreaking. Because I can put myself in that assembly when I was a student, and I don't remember that happening, and none of that. Like for people to stand up, I mean, it was suppressing that deep down, like hiding it.
Yeah.
And to be able to expose yourself like that, to open it up, and to be able to not only like basically being so strong to be able to share that weakness.
Yep.
And through that weakness, you gain strength.
Yeah.
And then the community is stronger for it too. Yeah. Well done. But there's still so much work to be done, but it's encouraging because it just seems like these breakthroughs are happening more and more.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many great organizations out there right now that are doing similar work. And it's just so amazing to know that our world, even if we're just moving the needle a little bit, it's just inching along. It is inching. And it's all we can do, right? Is just do our best to be better and be the best people we can be. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, Larkin, I want to be respectful of your time. Let me throw up these social links once more. So actually, I'll start with the website first. So everyone out there, commongroundsociety.org, Facebook and Facebook and YouTube. It's also at Common Ground Society. Instagram is also Common Ground Society, but there's just a dot in between the ground and common and the ground and society. Larkin, this is incredible. I want to give you the mic one more time, though, before we sign our guests off. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think a lot of people get stuck with I don't know how, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I just want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And I feel like I felt like that for a long time. And my advice for that is like just taking that leap, right? Just taking that first step to just you yourself being the one to smile and say hi, being cognizant of the language you're using and how you're talking to people, because that rubs off on other people. And then helping your friends and community to better learn how to create a community of belonging for all, because our tagline is it starts with hello and ends with belonging. And if we can all just take 2 steps forward, just move the needle a little bit, what an incredible world we can create.
Oh my gosh, so eloquent. You're spot on. You're spot on. And you're right. It's those incremental gains. I mean, they do add up.
Yeah.
Inches turn to miles when you have that compounding effect with
Yeah.
consistency, and the more and more people that are on board,
Yeah.
it just creates this momentum
Yeah.
and this ongoing community.
Yeah.
And I've said this many a time, like when we're working together and we're working as a community, there really isn't anything out there that we can't solve when we're working together.
Agreed. Yep. Agreed.
Well, Larkin, thank you again. This was absolutely awesome. I look forward to staying in touch. I know it's been 3
Yeah.
years. What you've gained in 3 years is incredible. I can't wait to see what's going on for the next 3 years.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to chat again. It's always a pleasure. And I really appreciate everything you do for our community. My son has we just got, 4 new pairs of Billy shoes because they are the best and allow for accessibility for my son. So thank you for all of your hard work for our community as well.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, well, it's our sincere pleasure, and it's very much a team effort.
Yeah. Great.
Well, everyone out there, this is another episode of Open Book. I hope you enjoyed it. We will have another one again real soon. So until then, take care.